what is your advice to budding paddle players?
With regard to sponsorship, they can contact them, so they got that covered. Yeah, I can just tell you, budding, so this is the thing, I don't find 30, 40-year-old budding players, honestly. For me, budding is the kid sitting right there, you know. I met a father today from Dubai who's come here to play with his son, who's an 8-year-old. Can you just, and your son? 11, where is he? You need to stand up. So let's give a big round of applause, right? So just imagine, he didn't find a partner good enough, so his dad came down for one night to play with his son. I'm like, so that's budding for us. So the thing with challenges is, paddle is a sport. Of course, Bill is the right, I mean, he's been in the sport even before we were born. So many of us were born. But as he's also told us in the past, it's a sport that you have to grow grassroots level up. So for us as a federation, our objective is that. Of course, to glorify the sport, to make it more flashy, to make it, really appealing. We have a lot of beautiful companies like Allen's and Space Hash, and there are multiple in this country today doing a great job with it, and we love all of them because that helps the sport, right? But our job is grassroots development, player development. Another point, like what he mentioned, Chaitanya mentioned, with regard to funding. We cannot fund right now because we are in the process of getting our national recognition, paddle as a sport, with the sport ministry. So everything is in, it's a process, right? For squash to get in, I think it took 15 years for squash, if I'm not wrong, it take that long, yeah. So 15 years to become a national sport. So paddle is just here and it's going to take some time, right? So when that happens, you can be rest assured, players, younger, older, I'm not sure the 55 plus is going to get the funding, but definitely the younger guys are going to be covered because that's our goal. And the other thing the Federation is doing in order to help kids is in all the facilities that are coming up henceforth, we are pushing and promoting that you put in a kids court. So you know the court we put right now is a 20 by 10 meter court. And our goal for this year, for 2025, is to have 50 children courts for kids, 5 meter by 10 meter. And that's how you get kids to play. That's how you have young guys, like how you have mini tennis, mini football, mini golf, mini everything, right? That's how you create players. So that's how we do it through the sport. It's proven, it's happening across the world. It's going to happen here as well. So those are the angles we think from, and the areas that we want to do and help in whatever way we can, as much as we can.
I'm also very happy to say that between Ronnie and Sneha and all of the work and energy they've put together, they have a proper vision of what we need to do here. For instance, let's say that we have a very strong junior program today. I don't know, let's call it the year 2000. Okay, so if you have a 12, 14, 16-year-old in 2000, 10, 12 years from now, you're technically going to have a world champion. So that's 2000. You can't stop there. So now it's 2001. Now you have to do the same thing so that every year that you're doing this, you're developing the sport. And you know, I've seen if you can excite the juniors, which really are the lifeline of any sport, then they drag everybody else with them. You know, the mother, the father, the brothers, the grandparents, etc. So I think to add to what you're saying, you know, keep your programs, you know, so that 10, 12, it's a 10, 12, 14 year vision that you have. When some of the top players in Argentina, for instance, came to be, and Maxi Castellote and Jorge Nicolini, who were talk about gurus of the sport, that was their vision. They wanted to have a consistent program every year, so this is why they've been world champions for forever, and nobody can seem to be knocking them off because they say, well, I thought you guys were finished. No, we haven't, because 10 years ago we've got, you know, a whole bunch of other kids coming up. So anyway, to add to what you're saying, thanks.
Let's talk a little bit about the business side of things. Hash, why do you think there's more corporate investors, trying to get into paddle I think as a potential investment opportunity, basically.
So I think DK is directing all the corporate and business to me. I have a social side as well, yeah, just to let you know. Now, I mean, yes, I think we have seen the rise of the IPL in India. We have seen the rise of the English Premier League equivalent of what happened in cricket, right? In India, it tends to really look at the celebrity aspect of revolutionizing such sport. But not just in India, across the world, I think it is the other traditional sports manufacturers. Maybe is it Bablot or is it Adidas or Nikes of the world, when they didn't really get it right in the first phase with this sport, but I think now they started to understand the real merchandising aspect, the real brand equity building aspect of this sport. So the corporates out there are waiting to see how these biggies were pushing money into this, and you can now see Adidas and Nikes and all of them coming in. So on the other side, as a business, if you want to look at, as Ronnie mentioned, it's not about just, as Sneha mentioned, it's not about just putting up a center. So I think there is still a lack of infrastructure partners. There's still a lot of vacuum around building grassroots level academy, as you mentioned, good coaching centers. So I think the business opportunity is out there for anyone who is into sports tourism or lifestyle tourism or sports wellness business. So as you looked at, India is 100 billion wellness market, and 50% of that market is today captured by just gym and fitness. And then I don't think there are more gyms closing down in India than which is getting open. So the corporate is also looking for a business opportunity which is more addictive, which is not something which you have to push. So that perfect synergy between active lifestyle, wellness, and sports tourism is what is making Padel everybody's darling kid today, for especially in the business.
Sorry. So, to add to what you're saying, also the physical structure, the footprint of our sport, also lends itself to being a good business opportunity, because now you have, one tennis court. Again, I think I've mentioned this before, but now you have 4, 8, 12 players. So not only in some of the things I've seen around the world, I mean, Sweden is one of the areas that have really taken off in this area. Is they don't just create a paddle club; they create, like you say, a community. But they have your paddle, then they have your food and beverage, then you have your wellness center. So therefore, you say, listen, honey, I want to take, let's just go to the club. Okay, so what are you doing? I don't know. The kids are over there taking a lesson, and somebody's doing some massage therapy over here, and I'm going to do something over here, and I'm going to watch a hockey game if you happen to be in Canada over there. So it becomes a hub, and I think that's the other thing. That's right.
It's more than a center. It's becoming a 360-degree wellness hub.
That's
right. Whether you look at a functional gym or a wellness spa, or, people wouldn't like to go to a spa today. They would much rather want to a place where they can leave the kids for some active sports and have pickle or paddle. And you're absolutely right.
They take ownership, because
Yeah.
they say, listen, I'm so proud of this. Normally I'm going to have lunch, I'm going to go to the pizza place or whatever, but no, I'm going to go to the club. And in reality, to add to all of this, I have a golf background. I used to be a golf pro 1,000 years ago. But for you to look at clients in that area, first of all, you're going to take an hour to get to the club. You're going to take 4.5 hours to play, another hour and a half. And by the time you get home, first of all, you're in trouble with your wife, because you've taken 3/4 of a day to get there. But technically, you're in front of them for 4 hours, but you're trying to concentrate on the sport. Whereas in paddle, because it's so close, you go boom, 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 you finish in 45 minutes. Now you can go out and do it. So it becomes a what do you call it? A family saver.
Family saver. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I won't reiterate that. Completely agree with what the guys are saying. One other point that I would add is that when Ronnie was putting up the first courts in the country, I think it was $50,000 or so a court. everything was being imported, all the rackets, the hardware, everything imported, everything very expensive. Today, there are local manufacturers, so you can put up 2, maybe 3 courts for that price. The likes of Decathlon introducing entry-level rackets, 3,000 rupees, and that it's making everything that bit more affordable, and the unit economics of the business model have been completely transformed. So that in itself becomes more attractive, whereas when Ronnie opened his first few courts, it probably took him 2-3 years for customers really to come through the door. Now you're opening new courts and you're full from day one. So that's in itself is, going to lead to many more courts opening all across the country.
Cool. I think we've heard quite a bit. I think we've learned a lot about where Padel stands in India or even globally today. Exciting times ahead, both for the Indian Padel Federation and for the business owners here. Do you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask the panel here?
Hey, just wanted to understand what are the biggest challenges you'll see in Padel in India? What are the biggest challenges that you think in India that Padel will face?
You're asking that we are going to face or we've already faced?
No. What do you see as the biggest challenges right now?
Like at the moment?
Yeah.
Lack of infrastructure. Yeah, lack of infrastructure, definitely. Because when you have more courts, it gets more affordable. You have more people playing, more competition, more recognition, more support from other agencies. I mean, I can only talk from a governance perspective, because that's my role here. And they can obviously give you other ideas, but from that angle, right now we are nowhere in terms of where we can be. So that is the challenge today, that we want to have. We're at about 250 courts in India. We'd like to be around 25,000 courts in. So that is an area that we see as a challenge, lack of infrastructure. The barrier is very high right now for people to play Padel. The kind of money they have to pay per hour is very high. So this is a huge challenge when you look at it from a microscopic way, right? It is a huge challenge.
Yeah. Thanks a lot to all the organizers, the sponsors for these 2 days. I know somebody spent a lot of money in putting this thing together. Both yesterday and today, it was all very well done. Thanks a lot. So I'm asking this question as a person who's investing in courts, putting up courts. Is there any international specs for the AstroTurf, the glass, and so on? So where the highest level competition is held, is there a particular certain standard of the turf and the glass? Because I'm planning to put up multiple courts, so depending on the locations, I know I'll have to put lesser costly courts. And the second part of the question is, when players play in those kind of turf or glass, will it make a lot of difference if they go and play in the higher quality infrastructure in courts like this?
Hello. The specifications of the courts, let's call it the footprint, and I was lucky enough to be a part of the World Padel Federation board when we were deciding, where the lights go, how high the net, and all those good things. And so I was happy to do it. But right now, it'd be very difficult for any manufacturer not to have an official court, if such a thing. Now, when it comes to business owners, club owners, if you want to have, let's say, an official tournament, I'm sure, there's a rule there that says you have to have outside the entrance a 2 meter by 4 meter space where technically, and you as a paddle pro, you will see sometimes they hit the ball and you have to run out. So you could have the courts go next to each other and still be able to play. But I think it would be worth the consideration that you do that in the event that, it will grow, obviously, and it's going to go there. So you say, look, if you want to have a sanctioned event, you have to have that space. When it comes to the glass, so long as you have the actual space. I mean, in Canada, because of where our place is, and we have some courts in public spaces, we can't have glass. And we have a lot of trees in Canada. So what we do is we actually have, wherever you see the glass, we actually have boards, lumber. And it's perfectly, we've had top players come to play. So the space is the same. So there are no regulations necessarily when it comes to that, so long as it's 10 by 20, and then it's so high, etc. So hopefully that answers your question, that part of the question.
So thank you. I think before we wrap up the panel, the panel host, Mr. DK, has to have a good applause, right? So let's give a big round of applause for DK. I think when we thought about getting all the who's who fraternity, from players to coaches to officials, governance, business. I thought we couldn't ask for a better panel than this, and thank you for all of them who flew in. Alan, Ronnie, Bill, Chaitanya, and big shout out to my friend Adi there, and all the Padel fraternity coaches, everyone, players. This is for us. It's just a beginning. We wanted to be on shoulder to shoulder with players and governing bodies in terms of taking that lead, going beyond the business to take this game to a newer heights. So thank you, every one of you, for being such a sport in this panel. Thank you.